Hey guys, been a long time since we played radio here on the channel, a fact that the ham community has been rather vocal about lately. So I went and did something drastic. I actually bought an antenna. Yeah, I can hear you already. Why did I buy an antenna when I have made so many of them successfully here on the channel? Well, to be fair, I didn't buy the entire antenna. I bought just the bare bones kit for an antenna that goes by the name of the DX Commander. What the heck is that? Well, the DX Commander is a multiband vertical antenna. It's loosely based on the concept of a fan dipole, just turned 90 degrees. It's the brainchild of this guy right here. This is Callum, M0MCX. He's over there in the UK, and he has a great YouTube channel with lots and lots of detail. The history of this thing, running it through models in MMA, et cetera. You can find out anything you want to know by checking out his channel, and you'll have some fun too. He's a little cracked, but still a good egg. The bare bones kit still leaves a lot of little pieces for you to supply yourself, but I had most of those pieces, so it made sense for me. It is available as a complete antenna, every little bit and bob that you need to go from box to on the air. So don't worry if it looks like there's a bunch of stuff that you can't come up with because you don't really have to. You get 8 pieces in the bare bones DX Commander kit. The first of which is the 10 meter, that's 33 and change feet for you metrically challenged, telescoping fiberglass pole that serves as the core of the antenna structure. You get these 2 aluminum plates, which do not come with these screws and wing nuts already attached. That's hardware I had laying around, and I put those in. They are pre-drilled, however, and tapped, so they're ready to go, but you have to add the screws. Anyway, this one serves as your ground plate, as it were, and this is your driven element plate. I'll show you how those go on the pole. You get this SO239 connector. It comes as a separate piece. It just has a mounting nut that threads into this flange here. This SO239 comes pre-terminated in a little spade lug pigtail, which is pretty easy to attach to this, and it's all weather sealed on the back. The other 4 pieces in the kit are these 4 ultra-high molecular weight plastic discs. They are drilled in the center to slide over the pole, and as you can probably see in these 2, they're obviously different center sizes because they go different places on the pole. Their primary function is to keep the vertical radiating elements at a consistent spacing as they go up the pole, and to keep them under some tension so that they're not flapping around in the breeze, because that'll send your tuning all to heck. And as you get them from Callum, this bottom one, which is the heaviest and has the biggest hole in the center, is also drilled in 3 places to attach guy ropes to hold the pole vertical. Now, a modification that I have already made, I took the very top plate, used the bottom one as a template, and drilled it for guy wires as well. You have to be careful guying something like a telescoping pole up high, because if you pull down on it, all you'll do is collapse it. But I think as long as I use lightweight rope and don't keep them under a lot of tension, it'll keep the top, moving around within sort of a confined space. Some things we can do in here in the shop to make life easier when we get out to the field to set this thing up. The first little bit, I think, is we can go ahead and we can put those aluminum plates on the pole. Now, the way this works, there's a threaded cap on the bottom here, and the smaller in diameter of the 2 plates goes with the SO239 facing up right on those threads, and the cap screws back on to hold it in place. The other plate slips over the top along with a hose clamp. Jubilee clip, you'll hear it called in the British versions of the videos. I'll be honest, I hate these things, and someday I'm going to find a replacement that doesn't require tools for these hose clamps. But for today, we're gonna go ahead and slide that on down there. And probably until I find that replacement, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up a dedicated sized nut driver to just leave in the bag with the Commander so that I don't have to remember to bring this. One thing that's worth noting is that the center conductor of the SO239 definitively comes below this driven plate. So you really need to attach this pigtail to the bottom somehow. Now, in my case, I don't figure to be detaching this too often. I'm just gonna leave these plates on the pole for the most part. So I got no problem with backing out one of the screws, putting the pigtail in there, and just tightening it back down. In fact, I think that's going to be a pretty good arrangement for me. In your case, if you have to take these plates on and off all the time, you are most likely going to want to put some sort of a wing nut or something a little easier to work than a hex-driven screw on the bottom of that plate. With the pole done, we can move on to thinking about the wires that are going to run up and out from it to construct the actual antenna. Over here is my giant spool of wire. It's a long story why I have that, but it's 1,000 feet of 20 gauge 2-conductor speaker wire, which is great stuff for an antenna like this. Its only problem is that because it's pure copper, it will stretch. So if you were gonna do this in a permanent kind of an install, eventually your elements are gonna get a little bit longer and you'll probably have to replace them. But for temporary, portable, put it up, take it down kind of thing, this stuff is great. And the first thing we need from said wire is radials. Now, Callum, right here, I'll link to it. It has a good video talking about how many radials you really need and does it matter if you only have a couple or they're kind of short or whatever. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. More copper, more better, but the law of diminishing returns kicks in really hard and fast. By the time you get to somewhere between 20, 30 radials of even a reasonable length, 10, 12 feet, you've achieved 70, 80% of the benefit of an infinite radial field. So you don't have to kill yourself with these things. So what did I do? I went and made up way too many radials. These are bundles of 5 wires. You can see I put a fork connector on the end of here and soldered it. And they are, I don't know, anywhere from 12 to 20 feet, the bulk of them. So there's 5, 10, 20, I got 6 bundles of 5, 30 radials that are in the 12 to 20, 22 foot range. Now, for portable operations, even this is overkill. I could take 3 or 4 of these bundles. The thing would work fine on 40 meters and up. But because I'm adding an 80 meter inverted L configuration to this, and honestly, I have the wire and the space, so it's not really a big deal. I cut a couple of extras, plus I cut this bundle. There's only 4 radials in here, but these are long. They're really long. These are quarter wave radials for 80 meters. These are never going to travel. These are strictly for use here at home, out on the acreage, and whether I really need them or not remains to be seen, but I have them. The other thing we've got to cut out of that wire is some driven elements. I have one cut here for 10 meters, I have one cut for 20 meters, and I have one cut long for 40 meters. That's because the 40 meter element goes up the pole and back down a little bit, and when you do that, you end up with sort of a hybrid length. It's not really as long as the wire is long, but it's longer than just up to the point where it loops back on itself. It comes out somewhere in between. And I don't know exactly where that's going to be, so I left myself quite a bit of extra wire. The other beauty of that is that it ends up giving you a much better tune on 15 meters, which is the third harmonic of 40. So we'll see how that all plays out. I went ahead and crimped and soldered a fork connector onto one end of my driven elements. The other end has a little loop on it, which at the moment is just electrical tape. Once I'm convinced that these things are the right length, I'll go back and replace that electrical tape with some glue line heat shrink tubing. And the loop on the top end of these things is so that I can use this stuff, stretchy shock cord, to go from wherever the element ends up to a hole in the next one of these things and tie it off under just a little bit of tension that will keep the element upright and taut without pulling the pole over sideways. The last thing we can do ahead of time is prepare the guy ropes. Here's the paracord that I showed you earlier. I cut it into approximately 3 equal lengths, and it turns out I didn't have quite enough of the paracord to do both sets of guy ropes, so I went and found this heavier nylon stuff. I'm going to use it for the lower guy ropes and save the lighter weight paracord for the ones up at the top. Well, I also think these carabiners that I have are too heavy to put on the guy ropes at the top. So for now, I'm just going to tie these with knots, but the lower, heavier ones have the carabiners installed on one end. I already drove 3 stakes in the ground out where I want to put this thing up, so let's carry the pieces out to the field and see what you'll do. Ultimately, I'll have all this stuff in a nice bag, but it is nice to know I can carry it all in one trip if need be. The guy ropes get laid out, and then the pole gets extended. There's, I think, 10 sections to this. They just pull and twist to seat them in place. When the pole is fully extended, it's unwieldy but not unmanageable. The plastic plates and their matching hose clamps go on next. I really don't like that it requires a tool to cinch down these hose clamps, but I got to admit they work really well. Running the driven elements up through the holes in the plates is not a big deal, although you do have to get the plates lined up, which is more critical in my case since I drilled for guy ropes. Maybe some colored dots with a Sharpie will help with that. Last, attach the guy ropes so the pole's ready to stand up. You guys who've been around for a while know sometimes I have a tendency to over-engineer things, and I think I may have done that here with this second set of guy ropes, but we'll see. I spent 90% of the time out here fooling with those ropes. And that will get a whole lot better once I've had it up and down a couple of times and I can get them cut to the right length, get the ends of the paracord cinched up, get carabiners everywhere there needs to be one, blah, blah, blah. Right now, I got kind of a Rube Goldberg for guy ropes, and that's what took all the time. The commander pole itself, man, that's easy. Feeding the elements up through the holes and tying them off with the paracord is a snap, and that'll get better too once I get the little clips on the ends of the paracord. Only little issue I have is the loop that I made on the end of the 40-meter element won't fit through the eye on the top of the pole. So I'm gonna have to look and see if that's just I didn't squeeze it enough, I got too much tape on there, or if we're gonna have to come up with a little paracord loop or something for the top where that eye is. Get the radials out of the way and stand her up. A little trick for those of you doing something like this by yourself. You can scoot the pole until 2 of the guy ropes are tight. Then you really only have to fool with the slack in 1 of them at a time. Well, there she is up with just the guy ropes that were intended by Callum. The top of the pole is nearly vertical. If I could get the base in the right place, it'd be okay. That's something else I might do to this in the future. If I can get another cap to screw on there, I might make one with a little spike to stick down in the ground and really keep the bottom of this thing from going sideways. In the meantime, let me cinch up these top guy ropes real gently. The idea is for them to limit the travel of the top of the pole. I don't want them exerting any downward force trying to collapse it. Don't know what other DX Commander owners would say, but I like the upper guy lines. Good to have light cord, good to keep them under just moderate tension at most, but they certainly do help to limit the travel of the top of the pole. Now, to be fair, I get a lot of wind up here. You can see probably in the background, we're on top of the hill. 10, 15 mile an hour breeze is a calm day, so your mileage may vary. Last step is to chuck out the radials. Well, this is no doubt the best setup I've ever seen for dealing with a bunch of radials on a portable antenna, but it's honestly still not a lot of fun kneeling in the grass trying to get the fork connector underneath the wing nut and the very bottom plate of the antenna. I'm probably going to build some little pigtails and branch that out to an Anderson power pole to attach to the bundle. For now, since I don't have the 80-meter inverted L element on the pole, I'm not going to put out the ridiculously long radials. There's only 4 of these anyway. And as it is, I have 30 radials of various lengths, but the longest one is 17 to 20 feet, somewhere in there. So there's a bunch of them, but they're not massive. Let me grab a piece of coax and the meter. Let's see how this thing tunes up. I'll see if I can get a shot of the meter and splice it in here, but suffice it to say that everything came out pretty much as planned. The 40-meter band is too long. It's resonant at 6.9 megahertz, which makes it resonant for 15 meters at about 20.4. So I'm going to need to shorten that up to bring both 40 and 15 up where they need to be. 20 meters is spot on. It is resonant dead flat 1.1 SWR at 14.2, and the bandwidth is such that it's well under 2.0 for the entire band. In fact, even the 40-meter band is well under 2.0 for the entire band, even tuned where it is. And the 10-meter band is a little long too. It's resonant at 28.0, even with a 1.1 SWR. I want 10 meters low in the band. The only 10-meter traffic these days is a local ground wave net on 28-470. So what I'm going to do is take the pole down. I'm going to shorten both the 40 and the 10-meter elements, and then I think we're going to be in good shape. Fortunately, I had enough line in my upper guys that I could just loosen them and lean the pole over without having to untie them all. The ground radials actually help anchor the center point, which makes raising and lowering the antenna even simpler. Took me 3 tries, but here's the final result. Starting at the top, the 10-meter band is now tuned to 28.6 with an SWR of 1.05. Not going to get a whole lot better than that for my 28-470 local ground net. 20 meters remains unchanged. It's exactly where I wanted it at 14.2 with an SWR of 1.1, maybe 1.2, depending on how the wind blows. And drum roll, please, 40 meters is tuned to 7.10 megahertz. And the SWR is crazy. It's less than 1.3 across the entire 40-meter band. And with that 40-meter tuning, 15 meters has finally come into shape. It's resonant at 21.050 with an SWR of 1.1. And it, like all the other bands, is well under 2 to 1, closer to 1.5 to 1 across the entirety of the band. So I'd really like to put up the 80-meter inverted L, which, by the way, should give me something at least tunable on 30, but the weather is not cooperating. It's starting to spit and the wind is picking up because there's a front coming over the ridge. So we're going to call that part 1 for the DX Commander. In part 2, we'll add the rest of the elements so that this thing covers all of 80 to 10 and maybe 6, cross your fingers. I'll show you how I'm going to pack this kit because it's designed to be portable, and my ultimate goal is to be able to take it on the bike. So we'll see how that goes. And of course, we'll take some shots of the radio, let you see what the transmitter end of the deal thinks of this whole setup. And if we're lucky, we'll even bag a couple of QSOs in the process. So Callum, if you're watching, brilliant job, mate. Thanks so much for all the hard work putting this kit together. It went up beautifully, it tuned up beautifully, and I have every expectation that it's going to work just as well on the air. Questions or comments, leave them down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button while you're there. I'm going to go bag some seat time with my new toy. Maybe I can get one of those good Parks on the Air contacts. Hopefully you learned something, or at least had a little fun. And until we see you next time, YouTube, you guys stay safe.